The Crucible was the worst place in the galaxy. Everyone knew it. The underground arena sat deep beneath Nexus 7, a lawless station floating in neutral space where no empire held power and no law meant anything. Here, criminals became kings and violence was entertainment. Grace Miller walked through the crowded hallways with her head down. She was 32 years old, average height, with brown hair tied back in a simple ponytail. Nothing about her stood out. She wore plain clothes and carried a small delivery bag. To anyone watching, she was just another courier trying to make enough credits to survive. That was exactly how she wanted it. She had come to Nexus 7 to deliver a package. Simple job, easy money. But as she moved through the station, she heard the screams coming from below. The Crucible was hosting a show tonight and the crowd was hungry for blood. Grace knew she should keep walking. She had spent 10 years running from her past, hiding what she really was. Getting involved meant risk. It meant exposure. It meant everything she had built could fall apart. But then she heard a voice cry out in English. A human voice, young and terrified. She stopped walking. The entrance to the arena was guarded by two massive soldiers. They stood 8 feet tall with gray skin and tusks jutting from their lower jaws. They looked at Grace like she was an insect. 20 credits to watch, one of them grunted. Grace paid and walked inside. The arena was a pit carved from metal and stone. Thousands of aliens sat in rising rows of seats, cheering and shouting in dozens of languages. At the center of the pit stood a raised platform where the entertainment happened. Tonight, that entertainment involved weapons testing. On a throne above the crowd sat Commander. He was a warlord, 7 feet tall with scales covering his body like armor. He had 4 arms, each one thick with muscle. His eyes glowed yellow in the dim light. He was smiling. On the platform below, a young human knelt with his hands bound behind his back. He was maybe 19 years old, with messy blonde hair and a face covered in bruises. He was shaking. "Ladies and," announced, his voice booming through speakers. "Tonight we demonstrate the power of the industry's Type 7 rifle. This weapon fires a projectile at speeds that can pierce ship hulls. No armor can stop it. No organic being can survive it." The crowd cheered. A soldier stepped onto the platform holding the rifle. It was long and sleek, humming with energy. "Our test subject tonight is a human," continued, "captured from a freighter near the border, weak, soft, the perfect demonstration of our weapon's power." The young human looked up at the crowd with tears in his eyes. "Please," he said, "my name is Danny Cole. I have a family. Please do not do this." Nobody cared. The aliens laughed and threw food at him. Grace felt something twist in her chest. She had seen cruelty before. She had experienced it herself. But watching this boy beg for his life while thousands cheered for his death made her feel something she had tried to bury for years. Anger. Before she knew what she was doing, she was pushing through the crowd toward the platform. Aliens cursed at her and shoved her back, but she kept moving. When she reached the edge of the pit, she jumped down onto the arena floor. The crowd went silent. Leaned forward on his throne. "What is this?" Grace walked to the center of the platform and stood between Danny and the soldier with the rifle. "Let the boy go," she said. Her voice was calm and steady. Laughed, it was a deep rumbling sound. "Another human, you wish to die alongside him." "No," Grace said. "I am offering you something better, a more entertaining target." The crowd murmured. This was unexpected. Studied her for a long moment. "You want to take his place?" "Yes." "And why would you do this? Do you know him?" Grace glanced at Danny. The boy was staring at her with wide eyes, not understanding what was happening. "No," she said. "I do not know him, but I know what it feels like to be helpless while others decide if you live or die. Nobody deserves that." Smiled wider. How noble, how very human. He waved one of his 4 hands. "Very well, unbind the boy. Let the woman take his place." Soldiers grabbed Danny and pulled him to the edge of the platform. He struggled against them. "No, wait, what are you doing? You cannot do this. She will die." Grace did not look at him. She kept her eyes on the soldier with the rifle. "The rules are simple," announced to the crowd. "The weapon fires, the target dies, that is all." The soldier raised the rifle and aimed it at Grace's chest. The weapon hummed louder as it charged. A small red light appeared on her heart. Grace took a slow breath. She had not used her abilities in almost 3 years. The last time she had, people died. She had promised herself she would never do it again. But some promises were meant to be broken. The soldier pulled the trigger. It exploded from the barrel faster than any eye could follow. It was a blur of metal and light, designed to destroy anything it touched. Grace shifted. It was not something she could explain easily. Her body changed at the molecular level, becoming less solid, existing between states of matter. The world slowed around her as her perception expanded. She saw the coming toward her chest like it was moving through water. She reached out and plucked it from the air with her bare hand. The crowd went completely silent. Thousands of aliens stared at her, not believing what they had just seen. Grace looked at the in her palm. It was still warm from the barrel. She closed her fingers around it and turned to face. The warlord had risen from his throne. His yellow eyes were wide. His 4 hands gripped the railing in front of him. "What are you?" he whispered. Grace dropped the at her feet. The sound of it hitting the platform echoed through the silent arena. "I am human," she said. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy began to understand what that really meant. The silence in the arena lasted only seconds. Then chaos erupted. Aliens began screaming and pushing toward the exits. Some pulled out recording devices and aimed them at Grace. Others simply stared with their mouths open, unable to process what they had witnessed. Gripped the railing of his throne platform so hard that the metal bent under his fingers. His yellow eyes burned with a mixture of fear and hunger. Fear because he had just seen something impossible. Hunger because he immediately understood how valuable this human woman was. He said quietly. From the shadows behind the throne, a massive figure emerged. But not like the guards at the entrance. He was 9 feet tall and half his body was machine. Cybernetic arms replaced his natural ones, each ending in claws that could tear through steel. His eyes glowed red with targeting sensors. "Capture her," ordered, "alive." Jumped from the throne platform and landed on the arena floor with a crash that shook the ground. He straightened up and looked at Grace with those glowing red eyes. "Do not make this difficult, human," he said. His voice was deep and mechanical. Grace did not move. "I am leaving. The boy comes with me. If you try to stop us, you will regret it." Laughed. It sounded like grinding metal. "I have killed hundreds of beings. I have torn apart soldiers wearing power armor. You are just a small human woman." "Yes," Grace said, "I am." Charged. He crossed the distance between them in 3 massive steps, his cybernetic claws reaching for her throat. Grace shifted. His claws passed through empty air where her body had been a moment before. She was already behind him, her form flickering like a bad hologram. Before he could turn, she struck 3 times. Once to the nerve cluster at the base of his skull. Once to the power coupling in his spine. Once to the joint where his cybernetic arm connected to his shoulder. Collapsed. His mechanical parts sparked and smoked. He tried to rise, but his body would not respond. Grace stepped over him and walked toward Danny. The soldiers holding the boy released him immediately and backed away. None of them wanted to be next. "Come on," Grace said to Danny. "We are leaving." Danny stumbled after her, still not understanding what was happening. "How did you do that? What are you?" "Not here," she said. "Later." They walked through the arena and up the stairs toward the exit. The crowd parted for them like water around a stone. Every alien they passed stared at Grace with wide eyes. Some whispered to each other. Others continued recording. Watched them go from his throne. He did not order his soldiers to stop them. He was too smart for that. Instead, he pulled out a communication device and began making calls. If he could not capture this human himself, he would find someone who could. Grace's ship was docked in Bay 17. It was a small courier vessel, fast but not armed. She had bought it 5 years ago with the last of her military savings. It was not pretty, but it had kept her alive and moving. Danny followed her up the boarding ramp in silence. He was still shaking. The bruises on his face looked worse in the bright lights of the ship's interior. "Sit down," Grace said, pointing to a chair in the small common area. "I need to get us out of here before changes his mind." She ran to the cockpit and started the engines. Within minutes, they were pulling away from Nexus 7 and jumping to faster than light speed. Only when the station was far behind them did she allow herself to relax. Danny was waiting for her when she returned to the common area. He had found a medical kit and was pressing a cold pack to his swollen eye. "Thank you," he said, "for saving my life. I thought I was going to die." Grace sat down across from him. "How did you end up there?" "Slavers," Danny said. His voice was bitter. "I was working as a mechanic on a cargo ship near the border. Raiders hit us, killed most of the crew, sold the rest of us at Nexus 7. He paused. "I was there for 2 weeks. They used other humans before me, for testing weapons, for entertainment. None of them survived." Grace felt that anger stir inside her again. "I am sorry." "Who are you?" Danny asked. "I saw what you did. That was not normal. That was not possible." Grace was quiet for a long moment. She had kept her secret for 10 years. She had built her entire life around hiding it. But this boy had watched her catch her. There was no point in lying now. "My name is Grace Miller," she said. 12 years ago, I was a soldier in Earth's military, special operations. I was selected for a program called Project Shimmer." "What was that?" "Genetic enhancement. They were trying to create soldiers who could do impossible things, walk through walls, dodge bullets, phase their bodies between states of matter." She looked at her hands. "I was one of 50 volunteers. I was the only one who survived the process." Danny stared at her. "You can walk through walls?" "Yes, and catch, apparently." A small smile touched her lips, then faded. "The project was shut down after I was the only survivor. They wanted to study me, figure out why I lived when everyone else died. I refused. I ran. I have been running ever since." "Why did you come back for me?" Danny asked. "You could have walked away. Nobody would have known." Grace looked at him. "Because I know what it feels like to be treated like a test subject, like something less than a person. I could not watch it happen to someone else." Before Danny could respond, an alarm blared through the ship. Grace jumped to her feet and ran to the cockpit. A ship had dropped out of faster than light speed directly in front of them, blocking their path. It was a human ship, military design. "Courier vessel, this is Agent Lyra of Earth Intelligence Division." A woman's voice came through the communication system. "Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. We have been looking for you, Grace Miller. It is time to come home." Grace stared at the ship blocking her path. She had run from Earth for 10 years. It seemed her past had finally caught up with her. "What do we do?" Danny asked, appearing beside her. Grace did not answer. She was thinking about all the things she had tried to leave behind, and she was realizing that running was no longer an option. Outside, in the darkness of space, Lyra waited for a response. And far behind them, on a dozen different channels, the footage from the arena was spreading across the galaxy. A human woman catching a with her bare hand. The universe was about to change. Grace opened a channel to the ship blocking their path. "This is Grace Miller. I am not going back to Earth. Find someone else to be your lab rat." There was a pause. Then Lyra replied, "I am not here to drag you to a laboratory. I am here because the footage from Nexus 7 is everywhere. Every major empire has seen it. They know what you can do, and they are coming for you. Grace felt her stomach tighten. How bad is it? Bad, the Dominion has already put a bounty on your head, alive only. Admiral is leading the hunt personally. The other empires are not far behind. Lyra paused. You made yourself the most wanted person in the galaxy in about 10 minutes. Congratulations. Danny stood beside Grace in the cockpit listening. His face had gone pale. What does that mean for us? It means we need to talk, Lyra said. Face to face. I give you my word that I am not here to arrest you or force you to do anything. But we need to figure out what happens next before half the galaxy shows up to collect that bounty. Grace thought about it. She had no reason to trust Earth intelligence. They had been hunting her for years, but Lyra was right about one thing. The footage was out. Everyone knew her face now. Running alone was going to be much harder. Fine, Grace said. You can come aboard, but if you try anything, I will phase through your chest and stop your heart. Understood? Understood, Lyra said. 10 minutes later, Lyra walked up the boarding ramp of Grace's ship. She was in her late 30s, with short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She wore civilian clothes, but she moved like a soldier. You are not what I expected, Lyra said, looking at Grace. What did you expect? Someone bigger, scarier. The reports made you sound like a monster. Grace shrugged, sorry to disappoint. They sat in the common area. Danny stayed close to Grace, clearly not trusting the new arrival. What do you want? Grace asked. Lyra leaned forward. I want you to understand the situation. The empires have been watching humanity for centuries. They think we are weak, primitive, no threat to anyone. That is why they leave us alone. We are not worth conquering. And now they have seen a human do something impossible, something that terrifies them. Lyra pulled out a small tablet and placed it on the table. A hologram appeared showing the footage from the arena, Grace catching the crowd going silent. This changes everything. If one human can do this, they will wonder if others can too. They will see us as a threat for the first time. Danny spoke up. But that is just Grace. She said she was the only survivor of that project. There is nobody else like her. Lyra looked at him. They do not know that, and even if they did, they would not take the risk. The empires will want to destroy this threat before it grows. That means destroying Grace, and possibly all of humanity. Grace felt cold. You are saying I just put my entire species in danger. No, I am saying you showed the galaxy what we could become. What happens next depends on how we respond. How do you want to respond? Lyra met her eyes. I want you to come back to Earth, not as a prisoner, as a symbol. Show humanity that we are not helpless. Show the galaxy that we can defend ourselves. Give people hope. Grace laughed, but there was no humor in it. I am not a symbol, I am a mistake. An experiment that went wrong in the right way. I cannot save anyone. You saved me, Danny said quietly. Grace looked at him. The boy was watching her with something like faith in his eyes. She did not know what to do with that. I need time to think, she said to Lyra. Where can we go that is safe? Nowhere is completely safe anymore. But Meridian Station is neutral territory with heavy security. We can resupply there and figure out our next move. They traveled to Meridian Station together, Lyra's ship flying alongside Grace's courier vessel. The station was a massive trading hub in a system that belonged to no empire. Merchants from across the galaxy came here to buy and sell. It was crowded, noisy, and anonymous. A good place to disappear. But they were not anonymous anymore. Grace noticed the stairs as soon as they docked. Aliens whispered and pointed at her. Some pulled out devices to record her. The footage had spread even here. This was a mistake, Grace said. Keep moving, Lyra replied. We need supplies and information. Pike has a contact here who might be able to help. Pike. Grace stopped walking. You know Pike. He works with us sometimes. Old smuggler but useful. Grace shook her head. Pike was an old friend from her military days. She had not seen him in years. The galaxy was getting smaller. They found Pike in a dingy bar near the lower docks. He was in his 50s now, with gray hair and a face full of old scars. When he saw Grace, he jumped to his feet and pulled her into a hug. "Grace Miller, I thought you were dead." "Not yet," she said. "I saw the footage. Everyone saw the footage. You caught her with your bare hand." He held her at arm's length and studied her face. "What the hell happened to you?" Before Grace could answer, the bar's front window exploded inward. Soldiers in black armor poured through the opening, their weapons raised. "Dominion," Lyra shouted. "They found us." Pike pulled a pistol from his jacket. "Back door now." They ran. More soldiers appeared in the hallway behind them, firing energy bolts that scorched the walls. Grace grabbed Danny and pushed him ahead of her. A bolt struck her shoulder. It passed through without leaving a mark. She had shifted without thinking. They burst through the back door into an alley. More soldiers waited there. They were surrounded. Grace stepped in front of the others. "Stay behind me." "There are too many," Lyra said. "No," Grace replied, "there are not." She shifted fully and moved. To the soldiers, she was a blur, a ghost. She flowed through their formation like smoke, striking each one with precise blows that dropped them without killing. 30 soldiers fell in less than a minute. When it was over, Grace stood in the center of the alley surrounded by unconscious bodies. She was not even breathing hard. Danny, Lyra, and Pike stared at her in silence. Above them, on a balcony overlooking the alley, a camera drone recorded everything. The footage would reach Admiral within the hour. And this time, he would not underestimate her. Admiral watched the footage from Meridian Station on the bridge of his flagship. His species, though, were tall and slender with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. They considered themselves the most intelligent beings in the galaxy. They had ruled their empire for 10,000 years through science, strategy, and patience. But watching this human woman take down 30 of his elite soldiers made feel something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. "How is this possible?" asked his second-in-command, a younger named Torres. "Our records say humans are among the weakest species. They cannot even survive in hard vacuum without suits." "Our records are wrong," said quietly, "or incomplete." He turned to face his crew. "Set course for Meridian Station, and prepare the holding cells. We will need bait." Grace and the others escaped Meridian Station on Pike's smuggling ship. It was faster than Grace's courier vessel, and had hidden compartments that could fool most scanners. They jumped to a remote system far from any trade routes and hid in the shadow of a gas giant while they planned their next move. "We cannot keep running," Lyra said. They were gathered in the ship's small meeting room. "The Dominion has resources we cannot match. They will find us eventually." "Then what do you suggest?" Grace asked. "We go to Earth. We tell humanity the truth. We prepare for what is coming." "The truth about what?" Danny asked. "About Grace." Lyra hesitated. "About everything. About why the empires really fear us." Grace looked at her. "What do you mean?" Lyra took a deep breath. "Project Shimmer was not created from nothing. Our scientists found something in human DNA, something dormant, something ancient. The project did not give you abilities, Grace. It woke up abilities that were already there." The room went silent. "You are saying I was born with this," Grace said. "I am saying every human was born with the potential for this. Project Shimmer found a way to activate it. You were the only one whose body could handle the activation process, but the potential exists in all of us." Pike whistled softly. "That is why the empires are scared. They are not worried about one human who can catch bullets. They are worried about billions of humans who might be able to." "Exactly," Lyra said. "And they have known about this for a very long time. There are records going back thousands of years. The elder races have been monitoring humanity since before we developed writing. They seeded our planet with genetic material and expected us to stay primitive forever. Instead, we evolved faster than any species in recorded history. Grace felt dizzy. Everything she thought she knew about herself was wrong. She was not a mistake. She was not an accident. She was proof of something the galaxy had tried to keep hidden. "Why tell us now?" she asked. "Because the secret is out. The footage of you is everywhere. The empires cannot pretend humans are harmless anymore. They will either try to destroy us or control us. We need to be ready for both." Before anyone could respond, an alarm blared through the ship. Pike ran to the bridge and cursed loudly. Dominion fleet just dropped out of faster than light speed. They found us. Grace joined him at the controls. A dozen warships surrounded them. There was no escape. A communication came through. "Human vessel, this is Admiral. Surrender the phase-shifting human immediately. Refuse and everyone on your ship dies." Grace reached for the controls, but Lyra stopped her. "Wait, let me talk to him." "Why?" "Because there is something he wants more than killing us. Information. If I can keep him talking, it might give us time to figure a way out." Lyra opened the channel. "Admiral, this is Agent Lyra of Earth Intelligence. What guarantees can you offer if we surrender?" "None," the Admiral replied. "But I can guarantee what happens if you refuse. I will destroy your ship piece by piece until only the phase shifter remains. Then I will take her anyway." Grace grabbed the communicator. "If you want me, come and get me, but leave the others out of this." There was a pause. "You would sacrifice yourself for them?" "Yes." Another pause, longer this time. "Very well, dock with my flagship. Come alone. Your companions will be released." Lyra shook her head violently. "No, Grace, you cannot trust him." "I know," Grace said, "but I cannot let you die for me either." She walked to the airlock before anyone could stop her. Danny caught her arm. "Please do not do this," he said, his voice cracked. "There has to be another way." Grace looked at him. In the short time she had known him, this boy had become something like family. She had not had family in a very long time. "Take care of each other," she said. "If I do not come back, get to Earth. Tell them the truth." She stepped into the airlock and sealed the door behind her. The docking tube connected her ship to the flagship. Grace walked through it alone. On the other side, Dominion soldiers waited with weapons drawn. They led her through cold metal corridors to a holding cell in the heart of the ship. Admiral was waiting there. "I expected more resistance," he said, studying her with those large dark eyes. "I do not want anyone else to get hurt." "How noble, how very human," he circled her slowly. "Do you know why we fear your species?" Lyra told me, "the genetic potential." "Yes, but there is more to it than that." He stopped in front of her. "Long ago, the elder races created many species, seeded countless worlds with life. Most of those species remained exactly what we designed them to be. But humans were different. You evolved. You adapted. You grew beyond every limitation we placed on you. In 10,000 years, you went from stone tools to starships. No other species has done that." Grace felt a chill run down her spine. "You made us. We helped create you, and we have spent trying to ensure you never reached your full potential. Project Shimmer proved that our efforts have failed." He leaned closer. "You are what humanity could become, and that terrifies every empire in the galaxy." Before Grace could respond, explosions rocked the ship. Alarms blared. The Admiral stumbled and grabbed a console for support. "What is happening?" he demanded over the communication system. "Sir, the human vessel has rammed our engine section. They are boarding us." Grace smiled. "You should not have underestimated them." She phased through her restraints and struck before he could react. He collapsed to the floor, unconscious. Time to find her friends and get out of here. She ran through the corridors, phasing through walls and dodging soldiers. She found Lyra and Danny fighting their way through the ship with Pike covering their retreat. "I told you to run," Grace said. "We do not leave family behind," Danny replied. They fought their way to a shuttle bay and stole a ship. As they blasted away from the flagship, Grace looked back at the damaged Dominion fleet. They had won this battle, but the war was just beginning. And the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The journey to Earth took 3 days. During that time, Lyra broadcast Admiral's confession across every channel in the galaxy. She included everything: the elder races, the genetic seeding, the of suppression, the truth about human potential. By the time they reached Earth orbit, the entire planet had seen it. Grace watched through the shuttle window as her grew larger. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds drifting across the surface. She had not seen Earth in 10 years. She had thought she would never see it again. "There are ships waiting for us," Pike said from the pilot's seat. "Military escort. Looks like they are expecting company." He was right. Earth's defense fleet had deployed around the planet. Hundreds of warships formed a protective shell. It was the largest military display in human history. And on the edges of the solar system, 3 separate fleets waited: the Dominion, the Confederation, the Empire. They had not attacked yet, but they were watching. "The Empires are scared," Lyra said. "They do not know what to do. They expected us to surrender or run. We did neither." "How long before they make a decision?" Grace asked. "Not long, a few hours at most. They will either attack or withdraw. There is no middle ground now." They landed at the United Earth Parliament in the capital city. Thousands of people lined the streets, held back by security barriers. Some cheered, some held signs, some just stared. Grace walked through them all with her head held high. Danny stayed close beside her. He had refused to leave her side since the escape from the flagship. "Are you ready for this?" he asked. "No," she admitted, "but it does not matter. This is bigger than what I am ready for." The Parliament chamber was massive. Representatives from every nation on Earth filled the seats. Cameras broadcast the session to billions of viewers worldwide. Grace stood at a podium in the center of the room, facing all of them. The president of the United Earth Council, an older woman named Carol, spoke first. "Grace Miller, you have been called here to address the human species at this critical moment. The empires have demanded that we surrender you to them. They claim you are a threat to galactic peace. What do you say to this?" Grace looked at the faces watching her. Politicians, diplomats, soldiers, ordinary people watching on screens across the world. They were all waiting for her to speak. "I was born in Kansas," she began. Her voice was steady, carried through speakers to every corner of the chamber. "I grew up on a farm. I joined the military because I wanted to help people. I volunteered for Project Shimmer because they said it would make me stronger. They said I could protect others." She paused. "They did not tell me I was the only one who would survive. They did not tell me what I would become. And they did not tell me that everything I am was already inside me, inside all of us." A murmur ran through the chamber. "The empires are afraid of me," Grace continued. "But they are not really afraid of me. They are afraid of what I represent. They are afraid that more humans will awaken, that we will become something they cannot control, something they cannot stop." She looked directly at the cameras. "They have spent thousands of years keeping us small, keeping us weak, keeping us ignorant of our own potential, but that ends today. The truth is out. We know what we could become, and I am standing here to tell you that we should not be afraid of it. We should embrace it." The chamber erupted in shouting. Some people stood and cheered, others protested. Carol called for order. "What are you proposing?" she asked when the noise died down. "I am proposing we stop hiding, stop running, stop pretending we are less than what we are." Grace stepped away from the podium. "I am proposing we wake up." "The awakening process killed 49 people," a general called out. "Only you survived. How can you ask others to risk that? Because the process has been refined, because we understand it better now, and because the alternative is extinction. Grace faced him directly. The empires will not leave us alone. They will keep coming until we prove we can fight back, not with weapons, not with ships, but with who we really are. There was silence in the chamber. Then Danny stood up from his seat in the gallery. "I volunteer," he said. His voice echoed through the room. "Whatever the risk, I volunteer." One by one others stood. Young soldiers, old veterans, scientists, farmers, teachers, people from every nation and every background, thousands of voices joining together. "We volunteer." Carol looked at Grace with something like wonder in her eyes. "It seems you have your answer." An alarm cut through the moment. A military aide rushed to the president's side and whispered urgently in her ear. Carol's face went pale. "The combined fleets are moving," she announced. "They are approaching Earth, all three empires together." Grace did not hesitate. "I need a shuttle." They gave her one. A small craft with minimal armor and no weapons. She flew it into orbit alone, positioning herself between Earth and the approaching armada. Thousands of warships bore down on her. Enough firepower to destroy planets. Enough force to end humanity forever. Grace opened a broadcast channel. Every ship in every fleet would hear her. "I know you are scared," she said. "I know you have spent believing you were superior, believing you had the right to control other species, believing you could keep us in our place forever." The fleets continued approaching, weapons charged. But here is the truth. We were never weak, we were never inferior, we were just sleeping. The flagship fired. A barrage of streaked toward her, dozens of projectiles moving faster than sound. Grace shifted. She moved through space like it was water. Every that came at her, she caught. She plucked them from the void with her bare hands and let them float beside her. When it was over, she held more than 50 in a cloud around her body. She let them drop. They drifted away into the darkness. "We are awake now," she said. The fleet stopped. Every ship hung motionless in space. Then slowly they began to withdraw, one by one, fleet by fleet. They turned and jumped away until the sky around Earth was empty. Grace floated in the silence for a long moment. Then she turned her shuttle around and headed home. On the surface, the awakening began. Danny was among the first. The process worked. It worked for hundreds, then thousands, then more. Months later, Grace stood on a balcony overlooking the training grounds where new awakened humans practiced their abilities. Danny walked up beside her. He could phase now too. Not as strongly as her, but enough. "Lyra wants to know what happens next," he said. Grace watched a young woman phase through a wall for the first time, laughing with joy. "We take our place," she said. "Not as servants, not as targets, as equals." "And the empires? They will learn or they will fall behind," she smiled. It was not a threatening smile, it was hopeful. "The galaxy is changing, Danny, and we are just getting started." Across the stars, the elder races watched and waited. The age of suppression was over. The age of humanity had begun.